Well, there's the first cut. At this point, we're just kind of playing around. well, very safely playing around. A lot of stuff to adjust. Just still learning how to play around with the tension on these clamps here, these log clamps. So we'll get it squared away. Let's see if we can get you a little bit closer this time, perhaps. I like it. I think I've been waiting a long enough time. You guys have been waiting long enough. So this is the first cuts. I hope you guys could see from some of the earlier video that this is truly the first cut. The sawdust you see over here, that's just from this cutting. There was no sawdust on the ground. I didn't stage this or anything. This is truly loading the first log onto the deck, the bunks of the sawmill, and cutting for the very first time for the benefit of my beloved YouTube subscribers. But I wanted to, I kind of wanted to make it real. I mean, who knows? I didn't know what was going to happen. I thought I was so prepared. I've got all my tools and all the different adjustment tools for the sawmill that I've accumulated. I've literally spent weeks fine-tuning this, getting it, the engine nice, and getting all the fluids in and everything, and making sure the blade was tensioned properly, and calibrating all the things, the blade guides that keep the blade tracking properly. And I was so prepared. The one thing I did not bring back, which today, which I wish I had, would have been a jug of water, because that's what apparently all the really cool people who run sawmills on YouTube do, is they dump a bucket of water down here and it looks really cool. So this is just, this is an old Douglas fir log. This log's been laying down, elevated. It's been on some skids. This has been laying on the ground for, probably a couple of years. I removed a tree a couple of years ago, and I thought, Douglas fir is kind of a, a nice wood. I don't have too much of it here. All the Douglas fir I have here is dead right now. So this was one of the dead ones, one of the first to come down, and I just wanted to see what it looked like. It looks, it looks a little wet in here, but it is rock solid. There is no, there's no punkiness or anything to this at all. It is really solid wood. And so what I'm gonna do is, I think I'd like to just flip this and actually make a cant out of it, just for the practice. I wasn't anticipating this was going to be a beautiful log, that I was going to turn into some fancy furniture. Maybe, if I can make an 8x8 or a 6x6 post out of it, I'll use it for something structural. As long as it dries well and doesn't, turn into a corkscrew on me. But anyhow, let's flip it, or we're going to turn it 90. We'll do a cut there, and we'll just keep taking the sides off until we make that nice square cant. But I have to say, the first couple of cuts on this thing, absolutely unbelievable. Very, very smooth. I mean, my heavens, for an entry-level sawmill, and it truly is. I mean, price-wise, you guys can go online and see what these cost, but these are a fraction of, what a Wood Miser, Timber King, Logasaw, those, kind of high-end mills would cost. It's even a lot cheaper than Norwood, which is another brand I looked at. I mean, just buttery smooth pushing through. Now, I spent a lot of time getting everything leveled out and flattened here, so maybe that was just, part of that was spending the time prepping it. So stay tuned. Let me flip this log over and we'll make a few more cuts. I am excited. I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight. I'm so excited. That's really, really a lot nicer than I would have expected for this log. All right, time to turn again, and we will keep on going. Pretty nice. Heaven knows when you get into this stuff, as you folks know, you watch about 100,000 YouTube videos to see how everybody else is doing it. And one of the things that I really did spend a lot of time doing is making sure that my references for square and so forth, you know, when I'm making these, that I really set the stage for that to happen. You can see that log post there. That's exactly what I want. It's, you know, I have a framing square out here. I'm checking my angles, and so far we're good. Now I know what's going to happen is, as a lot of people have said, you know, you use the mill for an hour or so and things start to get perhaps a little bit out of level and, you know, not so flat. The vibration causes stuff to shift. So we'll adjust, still have the laser level. We can still get that adjusted back to the way we wanted it. first cant. Even that's kind of pretty. That's almost orange looking. I didn't know, I know Douglas fir had kind of an orange tint to it, but that's really pretty cool. So here's our first cant. We will do a little pull back here. And so this was kind of an interesting log, as you probably saw in the middle of the log, or the now cant here. It kind of sloped down a little bit, but that's fine. I'm probably going to do 2x lumber out of this, because this is just, it looks really good. So this was about 9.5 feet. This was the log, the Douglas fir log that I salvaged, and I'm amazed that it's in as good a shape as it is. For being a log, it's really been sitting on the ground for quite a while. But I just really like, I like the sawmill. So let's dust off here a little bit, and we'll do a little quick review of the Woodland Mills HM 130Max. Stay tuned. Oh my goodness. That's about the most fun I could imagine having here on Catbird Hill so far. Who knows what's coming up next with all of our adventures. So that was the inaugural cutting with the Woodland Mills HM 130Max sawmill, which you've been hearing so much about, and me talking it up and saying I got to get to this. So this is our first cant. Basically, it's a I'm literally, you know, as I mentioned before, I'm just playing around here. I cut this at about 7x8. It's a beautiful beam. I mean, that is way nicer than what I thought it was going to be, you know, in terms of the grain. It's got that almost pinkish orange tinge to it, which is pretty classic with Douglas fir. It has an interesting figure. Don't know what I'm going to do with this. You know, I am going to be doing timber framing I'm going to build a timber frame structure around the sawmill. That's, you know, what you see with these posts here. You remember from previous videos, that's kind of was the early phases. But so I may just keep it as is and trim it up to be a beam that I'll use in the timber frame, or maybe I'll make lumber out of it. I don't know. But it's just, this was a log that I probably, if I didn't have a mill, I probably would have just, you know, try to turn it into firewood or not do anything really productive with it. So all I can say is totally impressed with this. Now, keep in mind, you know, this isn't a review. We're all of 0.3 hours here on the mill so far, so not fair to do a review. But I hope you got an appreciation for the smoothness of it. It rolls really smooth. But again, I took my time on the construction, the building of the rail system, leveling everything. I tell you, that's where you put a little bit of time in, or put a lot of time in, and it seems to pay dividends. I'm not going to stand here and tell you that, you know, putting this together was just a piece of cake. I mean, it's not particularly complicated, but it was very tedious. You know, it comes in 1,000 different pieces in terms of bolts and fasteners and all that stuff, and you just have to take your time. I mean, you know, in the sawmill shed build video library, the playlist that we created, you'll see all the steps it took, and I really enjoyed that. I really did. I love doing stuff like that. I think in one of those videos I said it's like a big erector set for grown-ups, but it was just a lot of fun building it. And the one thing that was, I think, very helpful in buying this level of a sawmill, where you have to build it yourself from a kit, is you really learn it. I mean, I understood by building it, by the time I was done the construction, I already knew where to make adjustments. You know, when the owner's manual was talking about tuning it up for accurate cutting and milling, and, you know, having the right tension on the blade and all that, I knew where all these adjustment features were because I'd put it together. So that's a true advantage. It can be a little bit awkward. I did the whole thing myself. there are times when it would probably have been very helpful to have you know, an assistant to help position things or hold things in place, but I just took my time. If I had any problems with this in terms of it not going together the way it should have, it was my fault. It was me not reading the directions fully or properly or really understanding them. But I can't say enough about how great the instructions were, and the support from Woodland Mills. When I had a few questions and I called their tech support, instantly got somebody on the phone. I didn't have to leave a message, didn't have to wait for a call back, got my answers in real time, which was great. So overall, a huge success here with our first, the inaugural log happened to be a Douglas fir, which is kind of ironic because Douglas fir is not native to this area. Douglas fir is pretty much dead in this area. Anything planted, you know, 30, 40, 50 years ago, I would say everyone I've ever seen on any property, parks and so forth, they're all dead. It's just too humid and hot and sticky in the summer here for them to do well. They prefer that kind of cooler northwestern climate, northwestern U.S. They do really well. But here in the Mid-Atlantic, not a good tree to plant at all. But a beautiful tree to get lumber out of, and I've got about 3 or 4 more standing dead Douglas firs that are bigger than this. So hopefully we'll have some fun taking them down and milling them up. Thanks so much for watching and being patient with this whole first cut thing. I've been promising it. It's just finally had a chance to get a little bit ahead of the general yard work and land management here in the springtime on Catbird Hill, and carved out a little bit of time to do the first cut. Thanks so much for watching. Stay tuned. I really want to build this playlist, this video library on the use of the sawmill as big as I possibly can. You know, when we get more hours on it, we'll definitely do some thorough reviews. It's just not fair for me to do a review right now, but all I can say is I love this machine. It is so far everything I wanted it to be and a whole lot more, and it's just a blast. I mean, I don't think I've ever had more fun using a big nasty power tool like this in my entire life, so I want to have a lot more fun with it. Thanks for watching. We just crossed the threshold of 600 subscribers. Thanks so much for all of you subscribed. Welcome to the new subscribers. Please share the channel with your friends who you think might be interested in this content. Give us a thumbs up. Make sure you got that notification bell clicked to know when we upload videos, because there's going to be a lot of sawdust making coming up here on Catbird Hill. Till next time, John here. Take care.